is available in the file pockets near the entrance or online at the City of Waterville's website. All items listed under unfinished business or new business are voted on separately. First, councilors will be given an opportunity for questions or comments. Once all councilors have had an opportunity to speak, citizens will be given an opportunity for comments or questions. Citizens must identify themselves and speak at the podium. Each citizen will be allowed one opportunity to speak and will be limited to up to 3 minutes. Finally, the councilors will be given another opportunity to speak or comment. Citizens who would like to speak on a topic that does not appear on tonight's agenda will have an opportunity to do so under the public comment section of the agenda. Pledge of Allegiance. Disclosure of conflict of interest. All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the city manager's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, Waterville Wellness Day on September 12th. The city will be hosting a community collaborative event, bringing citizens of Waterville and community partners together to share local resources for housing, health, community engagement, and other basic needs to build a stronger, healthier Waterville. Over 20 community partners and city departments will be in attendance at this event. It'll be held at the Head of Falls, noon to 3, again on September 12th. Any questions should be directed to Todd Stevens at Waterville PD. He is sort of heading up the event and getting it organized, so thank you to him for his work here. Updates on tax bills and commitment. Our commitment date was August 11th. Our tax collector will now be getting tax bills out towards the end of this week and early into next week. We did include, and I circulated this to the council, an educational informational insert to bring people up to date on the reval process this year and also the major cost drivers that we saw in our budget this year. 46 Front Street renovations have begun our newly acquired space for council meetings and community space at 46 Front Street. Our Public Works Department has been hard at work with demo and lining up flooring contractors as well as electrical. We do have a target date of being in that space of early to mid-October, hopefully early October, so we can have our first council meeting there that first week in October. So good progress happening there, and thanks to Matt and the whole Public Works crew for all their work there. It's been off to a great start. Update on the rental registry progress. Latest numbers, we have 348 properties, or a total of 1,226 units that have now been registered. That's approximately 33%. I know we had a goal of 90% by October or this fall, so we're making some progress, but hope to quicken the pace of that progress in the next few months to get closer to our goal. The Housing Committee has discussed some ways to further promote getting the properties registered, including making the link more accessible on our website and potentially another direct mail piece. So we'll be doing more to get the word out. And of course, thank you to all those who have already registered their properties and participated in this process. We greatly appreciate it. Just a word on my onboarding. I've been here for 2 full weeks now. It's been a pretty great time. I can say I've become even more enthusiastic about this place, about the people, and about everything we have on our plate here in these 2 weeks. I've really enjoyed meeting and getting to know not only some of you on the council, and I have some more meetings coming up this week, I know, but also our staff, which has been tremendous, as well as many citizens, community stakeholders, business owners. I've met with quite a number of you already. I've attended a number of committees and boards. This has all been really great, and we're doing some good work. So I look forward to a lot more to come. And again, I'm extremely encouraged by what I've seen so far, and I think we're only going to build from here. So again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad to be here, and I think we're off to a strong start. So there's a lot of you more to meet out there. I look forward to getting to you soon. I'm cramming in as many meetings as I can every day, getting my face around. I'm trying to walk the streets downtown, pop into businesses, and really get a pulse for what's going on in this community. So thank you to everyone so far, and I look forward to meeting more of you in the days and weeks to come. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, council committees, council comments, or committee reports? Okay.
I have a request from some members of one of the subcommittees from Senna. The folks that handle the flowers that are sitting out on the islands, they're on Kennedy Memorial Drive and Carter Boulevard.
Yeah.
They're asking because they want to They want to replant some bulbs, redo some of the flowering this fall, that we try to keep the campaign signs out of the islands. We have all of Carter Drive, all of KMD, those two little spots. They are public, they are DOT, anybody can do with them what they please, but these folks have tried diligently for a couple of years now to keep that green, a pleasant view in a bad day, whatever you want to call it, and everybody in town is going to be going over Carter Bridge because of what's going on over here with the new bridge construction, that it wouldn't be a lot to not use those two little islands and let them get their flower stuff done. So everything takes the way they want. Next spring, it'll be something that everybody can enjoy as they're driving through. Is that too much to ask?
I feel like you're going to see a lot less signs this year.
That may be, but I'm just putting out, they requested that I put it out
Yeah.
and see how it works.
It does look good. I like the islands. I've seen you out there, Paula. Anyone else? All right, moving on to public comments. Is there anybody online, Patty?
Yes, let me promote Nancy Sanford.
I'm going to start doing that, giving the online people.
Hi Nancy, can you hear us okay?
I don't remember.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, go ahead.
Okay, Nancy Sanford, Ward 1. And I know that this is going back a ways, but due to technical difficulties, I didn't get a chance to express when you were talking and voting on the leasing for the city chambers and other uses, community center, cooling center, whatever. And I just wanted to say publicly that I think that, well, there was a lot of negative feedback about it that evening. And I just want to say publicly that I think it's a really good idea. And I'm glad it's happening. And I happen to think it would have been fiscally irresponsible not to go forward with it. So thank you for voting to do that. That's it.
Thank you, Nancy. Anyone else?
That's all online.
Anyone in the room? Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Scott Pike. I am a Waterville resident, and we are. I have a business partner. We're going to be rebuilding the one College Avenue, the old Kenneset building. We have a business plan that we're going to be doing there, and we're also looking to get the community involved in a larger project that's outreaching for everybody. I've basically designed a panelized system that I've been talking with the city, all kinds of different through people through the city to develop housing. And I have a housing plan. I have a housing package that needs to be developed in a fashion so that we can give it to everybody. I'm not asking anything for it. We plan on building it in that building to get it started. It needs to be explored. You know, we're we're coming up on winter again, you know, and we're going to be paying $175 a night to house people in motel rooms again. And we're running out of time. You know, there is no housing. I'm getting ready to lose my housing because my rent's going to have to go to a place where I can't afford it. And that's happened because of the tax situation. Taxes are getting ready to go up because housing values have gone up. My daughter paid $150,000 for a house before COVID that would have probably been $75,000, and at 6.9% interest. You know, for new parents and families that are developing the community, that's not feasible. And I am working with April Levette. She's a designer up on Main Street, and she actually designed the 20 by 20 building. I believe, if I'm correct, that Waterville has opened up mother-in-law suites, properties that people can put these houses in their backyards. And I plan on developing this into a fashion where we can propose it to the city, to the state, to the New York City's got $1 billion worth of housing that they have to provide for these 50,000 asylum seekers. You know, they're sleeping in the streets right now. Everybody needs a plan, and I feel like I've got a feasible plan right now, and hopefully the city will be willing to at least look at what I'm doing and potentially work with us, because we do have a place to build them, and we would love to do that for y'all.
Who have you brought it to?
What's that?
Who have you brought your plans to?
I brought them to everybody, actually. I went to Thomas College about 4 years ago because I felt like Thomas College was a great place to start. I went to Colby College last year or the year before and offered to them. I said, well, how come you're not including housing with your package? Why not have a house that someone can go to college, put it into their tuition, and then when they leave, they're not a burden on society no more. You know, they've got a place to live, or they can sell it back and pay some of their tuition with it. You know, I've talked to the city. I've talked with Brandon. I've sent him my plans. I went down to the mayor's. I went down to your office and I spoke with your secretary. And I spoke to the lady to the left of the desk, to the left of the office that deals with the planning,
Yep.
you know, and all that stuff. And she was super great. She said that our building, we can build in there. We can, and I have a place to put the first building, and I'd love to give it away. I think that I'd love the city help me to do it, and I'd love to give the building away to a person that needs it and have a place to put it, you know?
All right.
And that y'all got my number. You know me, Brandon, and I'd be willing to turn my plans over. I have a meeting with the structural engineers across from y'all. They're willing to meet with me in September. They're giving me some of their free time too. So everybody's giving me a lot of free time, and I'm willing to give this away for free. I'm not asking for nothing, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and you have a great day.
Anybody else from the public? Go ahead, Paul.
Good evening. I'm Paula Raymond, Ward 7, and tonight I represent one of the subcommittees of the South End Neighborhood Association. It's titled the Quality of Life Committee, and we've been around for about 8 years under the Senate organization, and our main focus is the aesthetics of the historical South End. And a couple of projects that I'm looking to get some support is the flowers on the islands. And what we're looking to do for the last 7 years, we've been planting wave petunias. We've put some phlox in, and we've put some hospices in to curtail some of the labor and the number of wave petunias that we've needed to put to fill in the space. Unfortunately, this year, if you look at it, it's not as pretty as it's been in the past because of all the rain, and many of them have rotted and that sort of thing. So it's usually very lovely to look at. The organization that has donated for these past 7 years is called Growers Direct out of Connecticut. And they actually use Home Depot. That's their spot where they bring all of their flowers and whatever. And I touched base with somebody. It was just the right kind of connection. And they've been donating anywhere from $400 to $500 worth of flowers for us without any cost at all. All I've got to do is text him and say, I'm ready. And he tells me just go get what I want. Gary and I are getting a little older. We don't like to admit that, but we are. And what we're trying to do now is to clean it up. We want to clean the 3 islands, and we want to put perennials. I have to tell you, I don't have a green thumb. I never have. I'm a good bull worker. I'll do anything you want me to do. I don't know how to decorate a little island. That's why wave petunias were easy. So I guess I'm asking the audience that's watching and those that are on Zoom, if you have some ideas that you can present to Gary and me, you can text me. You can my email, pjcrgj@gmail.com. You can call me at 465-6200. I go around the community all throughout, and I see beautiful arrays of just small areas where people do put perennials. So I know there's a possibility, and there are people out there who do that. So Gary and I are looking to do that, so it's not as time-consuming. For the last few years, Park and Rec, I can call Matt, and God love him, he's always there to help me out. And they do the watering Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for us now so that Gary and I don't have to go every day. Of course, with the rain this year, we haven't had to go a whole lot because the rain has been there for us. So we're so fortunate, at least I believe so, and I know that our Senate organization believes so. The city just works really well with us, and we're just so grateful for that. What we like to do is to give back. The flags that you see on Silver Street was from the Center organization. The picnic that we just held is the Center organization. There's just some really neat things that come out of that little tiny historical community. And so what I'm saying today to all the wards that might be listening is, can you help us out with this flower situation? It would be nice. And my second request is, for the last 5 years, we've been working, the Quality of Life Committee have been working on a military honors booklet. We want to have a binder. I saw this at the Bangor Library. They did it shortly after World War II, and they honored all of the men and women who actually went in the war. And they took a picture of them, and they did what they put their bio as far as where they were and what their ranks were and their honors, Purple Hearts and just other military honors. And it just moved me so much that I thought, you know what, we've got enough people here throughout the years that have been in the service, men and women, that we could do the same thing, and it really wouldn't cost a whole lot of money. The problem is I'm not making that right connection yet. So I thought if I announced it publicly, people who are hearing, somebody who knows a grandpa or a great-granddad, or maybe has it in their home somewhere, hanging up somewhere, just to get it started so that we can work on that. It doesn't matter to me what war it is. We actually have Etta Reddington, that I believe was in the American Revolution. We've got his information. We have people of the Civil War. We have people of World War II, Korean, World War III, Vietnam War. We just want to be able to put it in a binder, get it started. I'm going to have a podium built with a glass casing, and we're going to put it in places like City Hall for a little while so that people start to see it, and then at the library for a little bit, and again, people start to see it. And we know that will generate people coming to us and saying, you know what, I've got this stuff and I don't know what to do with it. I just went to Florida, and my Uncle Norm gave me all of his from the Vietnam War, and so I know that can happen as well. And I just felt it was time for me to go public and ask for people to support that and help us through that. Colby College today, civic engagement, I love those people. We're going to get a group of college students to help us do the research, and so I'm looking forward to working with them as well.
Thank you, Paula.
Wait, I have a question,
okay.
Paula, sorry. Back to the flower thing, Paula, real quick.
Oh, yes, I'm trying to find out what you're talking about.
Was your ask for monetary donations, time donations, or just ideas as to what flowers, what perennials that you could put in these islands? What specifically are you seeking help with?
I appreciate that you're asking for clarity, because I wasn't very good at that. Donations are great, not monetary ones. I thought it would be great if people who have these lovely beds just took clippings and gave them to us, because then it becomes personal. We've put it into the islands, and when people drive by, they can say, hey, that was my iris, or that was my geranium, or whatever it is. I think the more personal for me, the better. This year, my brother Mark helped me with what we did because Gary was gone, and now he watches those islands all the time. And I told him, I said, you'll look at them differently because you've invested some time into them. I am looking for 2 weekends where we take everything out. And then the next few weekends from that, like in September, I'd like to take everything out and then put the new stuff in mid-October. So that would be nice if people could physically come and bring their stuff, and financially, if they want to give monetary donations, sure. My biggest thing is I don't know what to put in there. I can see something that's really pretty. I can take pictures. I haven't got a clue, and I'll do the bull work.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, moving on to the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah,
All in favor?
yeah, because I was looking for Gleep back, but he's not here, so I'm like,
No, he's not coming tonight.
it's okay.
Can I make a motion to read everything by title only?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? All right. You voting on that? So we're all set?
We raised our hands.
All right. Old business?
Resolution 130-2023.
Yep.
Approve bid award for winter sand to Mantor Construction of Maine.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Did we ask a question about this last meeting?
We did.
Hello, everyone. Councilor Green asked about KB Cog, and they don't go out for competitive purchasing of sand, but they do for salt. So we compared. Oh, so that's it for sand. Yep.
I really appreciate you following up on that.
You bet. We want the best price for sure.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Matt. Any other discussion? All in favor? Moving on to new business. Resolution 133, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a liquor license to Frank Berenier, doing business as Tank's Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Anybody here from the business? Nope. Where's that going to be?
That is the location right next door to Waterville. It's at an old auto repair.
It's
Oh, is
over
that
in the
place that's
strip.
got the smoker?
Yeah.
Alright. I gotta try that.
Oh, same owner.
Yes.
Well,
Mr. Berenier was here.
The
long.
question was brought up because there was an Elb City Motors there, but then up by Hudamaki there was another one. And then somebody else asked, "You mean old Joseph's car dealership?" We got to find this one out.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
All right. All in favor? Resolution 134, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a victualer's license to Frank Berenier, doing business as Tank's Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Resolution 135, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a special amusement license to Frank Berenier, doing business as Tank's Tavern.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor? Or any discussion? All right. Resolution 136, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a liquor license to American Dream, doing business as Pizza Hut.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Resolution 137, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a victualer's license to American Dream, doing business as Pizza Hut.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I assume there's still no discussion. All in favor? Moving on to Resolution 138, 2023.
Authorize,
Nope,
re-
go ahead, sorry. it's you.
sorry. Authorize the renewal of a special amusement license to SNL Productions, doing business as Mainly Brews Restaurant and Brew House.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Resolution 139, 2023.
Authorize the issuance of a retail marijuana store license to Cassidy Neal, doing business as Vibes of Waterville.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Where's this one going?
Industrial.
This is
Road.
at 20 Industrial Road. They were operating as a caregiver license there, and they're
That's right.
transferring to a retail license
Okay.
now.
Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All is still right with the world. All right. Ordinance 140, 2023.
Amend the zoning ordinance 15 Washington Street.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second.
I'm going to open it up for discussion.
Okay. Well,
Yes.
This is an amendment to a lease that is 10 years. This is an amendment to a lease with, still not?
No, I don't think this is the right thing.
This isn't the right one.
140.
Excuse me. Okay, excuse me. I'll speak later.
Okay. So I see that Mr. Jabber is here, and I
Might as
saw
well
the
go up there. You're going to get some questions.
Yeah. I watched the planning board meeting a couple weeks ago, And just want to applaud you for your efforts to bring more housing to Waterville. It's certainly an important need, as we all know. I just, and I appreciated during the planning board, you had talked about really wanting to work with the city on getting the project right. And so there were some concerns, and I have some concerns about the density of the project as you envision the full two units of 40, total of 80 units there. So I just wanted to have that conversation now before we rezone, and just make sure that this is a project that you're really going to, you know, we don't want to come back down the road and say, oh, no, that's too many units, or we're not going to approve that. So, you know, I want it to be successful for you, obviously, and for the city. So one thing I heard you say is that you were going to do a traffic study before you did the project.
Well, there was concerns about the project and traffic flow.
Yeah.
But the thing we need to understand is Kennedy Memorial Drive is 2,500 cars go by an hour. I mean, we're going to start off with 40 units, and second building will be 40 units. And out of those units, even if there is 2 vehicles, part of them are going to go towards Kennedy Memorial Drive, and part of them is going to be going towards Kobe. So I don't think the outflow of cars is going to be an issue. I mean,
So you're not going to do a traffic study?
If the planning board wants us to do that, we will do anything the planning board wants to make, you know, whatever they think, whatever they want to do in that area. Because where the entrance to the project is, it's visible in both directions. I mean, we don't have like corners or anything like that, because from where we are, we can see all the way to Kennedy Memorial Drive. And then in the opposite direction towards Kobe, there's
Right.
quite a space there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to get into an accident place. I don't think we're going to be increasing density of traffic in any great area. I think it's kind of the opposite. If I put that building at a different location in Waterville, then I think I would end up having a more difficult, because this is why putting it on the outskirts, a little bit of the outskirts, close to the highway, which is beneficial. But being on the outskirts of Waterville, we're not in the congestion of the south end, where I grew up on the north end. I mean, if we tried to put it in that area, I think you would have a problem. But we feel that is a very good location to put housing. And I think, as we all know, we're dying to put, at least I'm told,
Yeah, I mean,
we're trying
I think,
to get housing in there.
right.
And the density as well, that's the other thing we tried to look at. Like, a lot of times the problems is parking and things like that on the property. But we're going to put all this parking underneath the building for a lot of reasons. It takes care of parking, but it also takes care of environmental, you know, people coming in will be able to get out of their cars in a controlled environment, get onto an elevator, go to their floor, be on one floor. I mean, our community is getting older. You know, people like my Uncle Joe, 77 years old. I mean,
I love the idea of underground parking. You know, and I think, obviously, this isn't where you have your land, but I think it's a great project for downtown. That is where the density is planned for already. But anyway, I just wanted to raise the issue now, just to I'll stop talking and let anyone else who wants to talk share their thoughts.
Any other counselors? I have one. What happens if the project doesn't work? What if you don't build them?
if I don't build the project,
Yep. Is there a way, like, I talked to other counselors. Obviously, you need it to get rezoned so that you can do the things that you have to do. I would like something in the paperwork that essentially says that if you don't do what you plan on doing, that property reverts back to its original designation.
I'm fine with that, sir. I mean, to be honest with you,
Honestly, I just don't want you to, not that you will, but I don't want you to take this property, we rezone it, and then you not do the project and sell that property and somebody else going to put something there that we never expected to be there, or that we don't want as a city. So if somebody can make that motion, he's okay with it. I'd sort of like that to be in there.
Less restrictive, though.
Well, I guess
it's really not.
I was thinking more about, exploring a contract zone where you do the first phase at 40. I mean, I think that's fine. Let's see how it goes, and then you come back and when you're ready to do phase 2, and we see how it goes, and then we approve it at that point.
The question I have for it is, when we do these and do the financial analysis, and then people come, obviously, when you're going to spend $20-30 million, I mean, it's not $30 million I have, and the bank's not real willing right now at that as well. So people like, Fred Forsley and people to that extent, those are people that we work with, and my son, little Johnny, is down in Portland, so he spends his time here. But Johnny was also raised here, so we wanted to come back and do this here. So that's why, and we're gonna need help. We're gonna need help from the city, and we're trying to build housing for the growing market, because my sister Pam Trinwood has been here forever too. She moved down towards Worcester. She has a place down there, and brand new condo complex. That's where this idea came from. Driving underneath, doing all those things. But you're right. If this project doesn't go through, I have no problem coming back, or you can retroactively come back and say, if you're not going to build this housing, then we want to put it back. Because I've looked at a lot of things. I've looked at self-storage. I've looked at warehousing. I've looked at, putting Ware Butler building back there for a moment. I mean, we've looked at a lot of different options. When we bought the land, we weren't sure. But this is what we've always wanted to do with it.
Remember that. We need the housing. We just want to make sure that we're not upsetting, and I'm not saying upsetting is the wrong word. We want to make sure that all of that traffic isn't going back into those residential neighborhoods to get to different pieces of town. So we'll see how it goes.
I guess my question is, I see the chair of the planning board is here. How are we going to assess the impact if we rezone this as residential, commercial A, and how do we ensure that? And I'm not so much worried about parking or even KMD. I'm more worried about Washington and Lincoln, which are already very congested. The Jefferson going to, Damon's, and it's getting very, very busy there. And these were some of the concerns raised by neighbors. So what's our mechanism for ensuring that we're not building something that's going to be too big for that site?
Well, it is. I'm not.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Hello, council. So the way that it's currently zoned is commercial C, correct?
Right.
So just so that you are all aware, commercial C is practically everything along KMD, College Ave, those types of businesses, right? So we're looking at, you could put in a car wash, theoretically. You can put in other drive-throughs. You could put in other motor rental things. You could put in a mobile home storage yard, contractor storage yard, veterinary hospital, equipment rental, driving range, everything basically except for apartments. So if the concern is traffic, currently the way it's zoned, really anything could come in here and cause more of a traffic burden. Commercial A is current uses are, let's see, single dwellings, etc., retail stores, professional offices, eating establishments, bus terminals, which would be more traffic, I understand, hotels and motels, which there's already one right there, indoor recreation facilities, newspaper production, apartments, clubhouses, daycare center, convenience store, or a homeless shelter. So I guess the worst case scenario, if you rezoned it to commercial A, is one of those things goes in there, right? Someone builds a daycare. It's, again, not going to be a whole lot of different traffic flow. As far as controlling the traffic, there is DOT laws around that. I think probably maybe Brian could speak more to it. Or Bill know a lot more about municipal law and zoning than me. But if there's a certain number of trips required by their development, a DOT traffic study is required. I'm guessing if you have 40 apartments, maximum trips is probably less than 100 per day.
But if you have 80,
then that would probably trigger a DOT
and
traffic
that's
study,
really
right?
my question. At what point is there some requirement to look at that?
Yeah, so I guess if he were going to put in 80, if they started the next production.
Well, that is the plan, right?
Theoretically.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we're not exactly sure if this is going to work. We want to come to you, work with the city. We want to put it in. We want to hope it's successful for us as well as the city. If it is, you're going to take us back with open arms.
Oh, yeah. But we want, yeah. So
If they go to expand on their development, they're going to have to come back to the planning board, and they will need to
Right.
do a DOT study at that time if it triggers the amount of trips that DOT
yeah.
would
and
say as an increased burden. But I mean, I think it's important to remember that it's a vacant lot now. That doesn't mean it always will be vacant, and it doesn't mean that that's all it's zoned for. The other thing, I know there was concerns about setbacks and such. It's important to note that in their deed, they actually are required to maintain certain setbacks and buffers, which I think alleviates a lot of concern about that issue, abutting the residents on that side. So
is it all around the property, or is it just on one side?
I believe it's the around that butter and the back too, right, John?
There's two different,
Yeah.
along the side.
Mm-hmm.
That there's a 30-foot buffer there. And then there's an easement in the back for sewer. Sewer potentially later on, let's say 40-foot buffer on the back portion of the land.
Which is basically that Doctor's Drive, which we have subdivided to be a subdivision as well. So, yeah, I mean, as far as that's concerned, they're sort of already constrained to the setbacks of commercial C because of their deed, which was one of the things that I thought, okay,
That's good info.
makes me a little bit more comfortable making that zoning change. I will say the planning board did discuss a contract zone. It was something that we discussed. I think that it does make it very difficult for the developer. I think it would probably halt the project, if not destroy it. And I think the planning board decided that would be more in line with the comprehensive plan and zoning to keep the consistent zoning along that area. So if you look at the zoning map, it's not like it's going to be the only commercial A property right there. It's abutting other ones. So
That's true, but it's right next to residential A. So, yeah,
I understand, but it also is an empty lot. Like, they can't expect it to be
Absolutely.
empty forever, right?
No.
So looking at the uses of both zones, it's like you have to make a decision based off of what is most appropriate. And I don't think that either zone is going to be any more high density than the other or any more high traffic flow than the other. In fact, commercial C zones, the definition of commercial C zone is for motorist type traffic, right? That's why KMD is so busy. So the way it's zoned now is actually intended to have more traffic than a commercial A zone, which is more like our downtown vibe, right?
I have no issue with rezoning it to residential, to commercial A as opposed to C. It's more about what happens on that lot eventually. So anyway, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you feel like the project will be too big for that area? Like, do you ever feel like it will be too big?
I mean, I think that they're in very preliminary stages of this project, right? They're going to have to come back to the planning board, and if this project is too big for that area, then it won't be able to move forward based off of land use ordinances, right? So if two buildings aren't going to fit there, like when they go and do the survey, when they go and have their engineers look at it, that's all going to be something that we discuss at the planning board, and the city engineer has to review it. They have to make sure that it fits in the use of that area. It's not a huge parcel, so, and he's still going to have to meet the parking requirements and all of that, which I think probably help to maintain the size of projects as well based off of the size of the land. So I think that they're in very preliminary stages right now, so it's really hard to say like, yeah, it's too big, it's too little. But once they are able to have the engineer really go through and measure and figure out what fits, I think and where on that site based off of where utilities can come in and all of it. Like, they're just proposing an idea right now. And like I said, I mean, when I was looking at the rezoning, when we discussed it at the planning board, my thoughts were, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Like Jay's thinking, right? Like, what's the worst case scenario if this project can't move forward? If we rezone it to commercial, what's the worst case scenario? Like, a restaurant goes in, so that's where my thinking was coming from with that.
We've done preliminary engineering.
Thanks, Sam.
We've done preliminary engineering of the lot, and we've said, how many buildings can we put on here? Can we even put 2 buildings on here? And we have preliminary drawings that show we can. But then you've got to deal with the water runoff. You've got to deal with all of this. When we go to, once you get over an acre of impervious land, you're going to need all that, and I'll be dealing directly with them. Maybe with all of this, I've been working with Boyd Snowden on it because he knows the property. He might come back and say, you don't have the ability to put another building because we're going to either have to put a settling pond, or you're going to need to have this much runoff, or you're going to have control of that. We know we can definitely do 1. Theoretically, we can do 2. So that's what we're doing. As engineering goes, as we go back to the planning board, we'll have detail engineering, we'll have everybody else involved, and go from there.
Fair enough.
Let
Claude
go first.
Well, I think it's awfully nice of you to be thinking about housing here in Waterville. My question is, if everything's at the preliminary stage, why do we need to rush into a zoning change?
I'm sorry.
He's saying if everything's in the preliminary stage, why change the zone right now?
Well, to go to the next step, to go from preliminary stage, to go to full-blown engineering. I mean, to go spend $200,000 to get all the engineering done, we need to make sure we have a place that we can put this, and that we have to be honest with you, we want the support of Waterville. We want Waterville to say, come and do this. I mean, Waterville sits here, and if we sit here tonight and say, hey, this isn't for us, this isn't a good idea, we're okay with that, and we've only spent this much. The next step we have to do to go to planning board is massive engineering.
Yep.
All the studies that needs to be done, soil studies, runoff studies. We've done a lot. I mean, we've done a lot. We've dealt with it. We've talked to the fire department. We've talked to the electrical. We've talked to the septic. Like, we have to take the septic line and bring that up 140 feet to get it in front of our property so we can bring it there. The size of the water main is big enough to feed the suppression system in this building. So we've done a lot of that work. We've done a lot of preliminary design of engineering, exits and things like that. That's done, but the detailed portion of it is not. And once we get the blessing from this committee and things like that, then we're going to go back and get some detail engineering to bring to the planning board to go from there.
Makes sense. Hold on. Tom, go
All
ahead.
right. I'm all for your first 40. And my concerns are, because I have the parking problems, I have the traffic problems. I want to see how that works out in your studies and stuff. They tell me you want to park below ground. 40 units is 80 plus another possibly 20. You're going to want 100 parking places underground. Okay, if you can put it there, great. The last thing I'm wondering about is, you got a trailing back here. The backside of your property is just a little narrow. Is there any thought what you're going to possibly do with that, or is it just going to be green space?
The back of the property, per the deed, has got a 40-foot setback there anyway.
Well, no, that's what I'm talking. I guess that's what I'm talking about, is that setback that goes behind all the properties on Lincoln Street. You got a small strip back there on this map, and I was wondering, okay, has he got a plan for that? Does that work in the engineering? Is it just going to turn into green space for his tenants? You know,
Well, right now, it's got to stay as green space. The other thing we're trying to do, because I heard one of the planning board meetings, the first ones I wasn't at when I was away, I heard about the trailer park up by Thomas and the lighting and cars and fencing and all of that. So what we did with our engineering is we're taking the building and we're going to move the building all the way back. So vehicles coming in are going to go around to the front of this building, so none of the lights will be going against any of this housing. So we thought that, because our original plan was to have the housing in the front and have the cars go right down along the property, staying away from the 30-foot buffer. But then you got lights going down that area. So we've decided to, from the neighborhood, and we had good meetings with the neighbors there, is to move the house back to the back of the property, and then there'll be no traffic. Then there'll be all the activities, all the lights, everything of the front of this building will be the front of this building. And that's where the attention will go, which will be facing Kennedy Memorial Drive. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
all right.
It's thoughtful. Mike?
Yeah, again, and thank you very much. I applaud the efforts to try to bring housing into the city. We definitely need it. As you talk about this project and you say, all right, well, phase 1, phase 2, is there a number of units in which this project isn't viable for you anymore? Like it's like, you know.
When we first started it, we were going to make it smaller. We were not going to make it as tall. But the problem is our desires and our needs that we weren't going to compromise was elevators. We want people to be able to get out of their cars, get into an elevator, and be on one floor. That is our goal. That's what we want to do. The problem is an elevator costs you $250,000. And you need to distribute this cost over X amount of buildings, or they're going to be priced out of the market for Waterville, Maine. Sure, in Portland, we're in Portland, we can sell this for $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 for a unit. And we're in Waterville, Maine, and we can't do that. So that's why the building got a little bit bigger. That's why the building got a little bit taller, because we needed to disperse these costs. So now we have one foundation. Sure, the foundation's bigger, but it's not exponentially to the units. So as it gets a little bit bigger, we're able to control the costs, because you can't control the costs. I mean, when we come back, the only reason this doesn't go, if we cannot build this thing, and we have to sell these things for $350,000, $400,000 for this to work, there's very few people in Waterville, Maine, who can afford to buy a condo for that price. So when I come back to the planning board, or come back to here, and I have to say, oh, we're not doing it, that's why we won't be doing it. And I'm willing to put any stipulations you want to put it back, because we want to make it work. And if it doesn't work to what we have no bait and switch. We have no other plans.
Yeah,
we
makes
just
sense,
want to
man.
make this work for the city.
I want it to work too.
Yeah, and that was more my question was to kind of clarify as to at what point doesn't it work? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, like you have 80 units, and you would say that's great, but as you go through this and you start to, do you need this pond? Do you know, all these things as it comes down. If you could only build the 40 units on that site, is that still a viable project for you? Does that still, you know what I mean? Does this project still move forward at 40 units of housing?
I mean, each building stands on its own. There's no interconnection. There's no cost savings except for the land itself. I mean, sure, if I bring the power on, it's easier to bring it on to the second unit. I bring the septic on, it's easier. Bring the water on, it's easier.
Yep.
But no, if we decide not to do the second unit, I mean, the first unit has to be able to stand on its own ground. And if the city of Waterville wants it, like I'm hearing the Hathaway building, you know, there's a 2-year wait for a lease. I mean, for someone to get an apartment. So.
Any other questions? All right. Roll call.
Is this the second reading?
It's an ordinance, right?
This is the first reading of
Oh,
this.
all in favor?
Okay.
All opposed?
Isn't it still an ordinance?
The ordinance requires a roll call on the final reading only.
Oh, okay.
So were you in favor, Counselor?
Yeah.
Okay, so
All right.
6 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
very much.
Welcome. Moving on to Resolution 141, 2023.
Approved bid agreement with Maine General Medical Center.
Yeah.
Aid agreement, my apologies.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, Bill, now you're here. 142, 2023.
Approve amendment to Front Street parking lot lease.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This is an amendment to the lease of real property for 10 years or more, so it actually requires it to be in order. It was originally adopted as an order, and any amendment of it would be as an order. So if you could just take a first reading and convert that resolution to order, we're fine.
Okay. Anything else? That was it?
Yes.
So, do we need an amendment
Well,
here?
you could do a simple motion to amend, to change the word resolution to order, pass that, and then move to have your first reading on it as amended.
Okay, I'll move that we
Do what Bill
change the title to, from resolution to order.
Second.
Go ahead.
All in favor?
All in favor? All right, that's
And
everybody.
now move it as amended?
So moved.
Any further discussion?
Second.
Oh, any further discussion now? Can you tell us what the terms are? Why are we changing the lease?
This has to do with the reconstruction of the bridge, and they had to store materials in part of what was the parking area, and when it's being reconstructed, they're going to be moving the entrance off of Front Street into the parking area, so it essentially just moves the dedicated spaces for the hotel, Front and Main, to a different location.
Okay. All in go ahead.
So what are those spaces now? Are those public spaces?
That parking lot, it's a combination of spaces exclusively dedicated Front and Main, some spaces that Front and Main can use if, depending on the size of what was constructed, and then some spaces which are reserved for the general public's use.
And by making this change, how many go away from the general
I
public's
think
use?
the net effect is the same. I think it's moving the spaces.
But are we moving them because there's other things there that they're not going to be, those spaces aren't going to be used for the next 3 years because of some of the stuff on the Taconic Bridge replacement?
That is the genesis of the reason for the change, yes.
So we have.
I wasn't involved in the engineering.
So we have
of this.
equipment in viable parking spaces now, and because of this parking, we have equipment there. It eliminates parking for Front and Main, so they want to move the parking so they have the same amount of parking, which would then take away parking for the general public, potentially?
Partly, and the other part is I think the entrance to the parking lot is going to change its location because of all the construction that's taken place. You don't have a diagram of?
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, my understanding was that the net number of spaces didn't change. It was just the location of them.
Yeah.
And there is shared parking with the city,
Right, there's-
which
there's-
is a
there's-
great
yeah, there's-
model for us to
There's
be.
parking strictly
doing
for
more
the
of.
public, there's shared parking, there's parking strictly for Front and Main. That's what presently exists.
Yeah.
That will also exist with the amendment. And if you don't have a diagram for that, I'm certainly sure the city can provide that to you by the time of the second reading.
All right.
Yeah, I see it. Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Oh, it is? Oh,
We changed it into an ordinance, didn't we?
We changed it to an order, and that was the first reading of the order.
right. So it'll be back at the next council
We
meeting
don't have to
for
have a
final
roll
reading.
call for that?
At the final reading of
the
the
final reading,
order.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved.
Granted.